Over the last 24 years of making music, I've been in my fair share of bands, from folk bands to rock bands to folk rock bands, to metal bands to jazz bands, cover bands, back to rock bands. I'm currently in a band, a really good band, and that's not to mention classical guitar duos, orchestras, and many, many singer-songwriter acoustic duos. Being in a band is a truly awesome hobby, and I also wholeheartedly believe that if you want to be successful in a band and make it your profession, that is, without doubt, in my opinion, possible. And not actually as difficult as people think it is. That is assuming most people watching this think it's basically impossible. It's not impossible. So, in this video, I want to highlight the number one reason why bands fail, what to do about it, and why I believe it's not as difficult as people think it is to be in a successful band. As a result, this video is really aimed at people who want to give fame and fortune a shot, but the points I'm going to cover here are still important for anyone who plays in a band. So, what do you think the number one reason is that bands that are trying to be successful fail? It most often isn't lack of talent, it isn't lack of passion, it isn't lack of opportunities. It's because of the people. Finding the correct people in order to be in a successful band is almost impossible. That single fact will govern success and failure more than any other individual factor. The analogy I always like to give is that trying to find 3 to 5 correct people to be in a successful band with is like trying to find 3 to 5 people you want to have a romantic relationship with. It's almost impossible to find one special person to share your life with, achieve your goals with, and to build a life together with. Trying to find even 3, never mind 5 people that you can achieve that with is like winning the lottery. Statistically unlikely. Which again, single-handedly explains why so few bands are successful. Now, what do I mean by the correct people? What I mean is that people that have the necessary skills and that want the same thing with the same single-minded purpose, focus, and dedication. And necessary skills doesn't just mean playing the necessary instruments. There is far more to being in a successful band than just playing your instrument. You need people with the right social skills, people with good social media knowledge, people that can pick up the phone and ring promoters. Some people just have a terrible fear of making phone calls. People with good graphic skills, photographic skills, video skills, or people with enough money to pay other people to do those things for your band. But then generally, people who have plenty of money spare also generally have full-time jobs and don't have 40 hours a week to go and chase rainbows and fairy dust. Or they don't have enough time to practice and so don't have the basic musical skills you need in the first place. And then, if you find people with the necessary skills, you are tripped up by people not wanting it enough. One person would rather be an actor than be in your band, and another would rather be a waitress. And that's a real example, just in case you think I make my examples up. Life is crazy enough, and I've lived long enough to know that I don't need to make up any weird examples. Another real example is where one person wanted to move to a city to try and be a famous musician and start from zero, rather than be in a band which was already doing well. And I'm sure there are plenty of examples you have from your own experiences that you are thinking about right now whilst you watch this. Some people in the band are just awful to work with. Some people have kids and couldn't tour the world even if you did make it, so their foot is constantly on the brake the whole time. Some people are just plain lazy. We could go on and on. But really, all the examples boil down to people simply not wanting fame and fortune or not wanting to do the work required to get it. To recap so far, the number one reason bands fail, in my opinion, is people. And the two main issues are people either not having the necessary skill sets and or not truly wanting to be in a successful band. Now that we've identified some of the problems, and before I tell you how I recommend fixing them, I want to stress that those problems are totally valid. No one should blame anyone for the skills they lack, nor for people wanting different things. I wish nothing personally but the best for any band or band member I've had the pleasure of sharing some music with. And I've heard some horrible stories of things people have said to other human beings just because they aren't the correct fit. Wish people the best and move on. It's no one's fault, and blame never helps. Preaching over, what do we do about this? There are a few things we can do about this. Firstly, dedicate some of your band's time to discussing this. Have a group chat on whatever your preferred messaging service is, and call one of the groups what we all want, then have another chat and call that what we all need. and openly state what you want to achieve and what you think you need. And these could be concrete ideas like, I need you to stop making me feel rubbish when I play wrong notes, and we need to finish our album by this date. Or more general ideas like, I think we need more positive energy during rehearsals, how can we get this? And I think we could invest more time in Instagram, what skills do people have relating to this? And then someone else can write, I need you to practice more and stop playing wrong notes. I don't have time to finish the album now, but I can get it done by this date. Or maybe someone else can record the guitar part and I'm okay with that, and so on. And then you either compromise or you go your separate ways, each now knowing more specifically what you think is important and what to look for in your next band. And that nicely leads me to my next point, which is the standard business advice: fail quickly and fail often. So that you can learn from mistakes and learn about yourself and your needs as much as you learn about bands in general, and what combinations of people work and what combinations of people don't work. But, important point, don't fail and then feel so bruised because it didn't work out that you don't want to try again. When you fall off the horse, you need to get back on it if you want to be a successful horse rider. When you get kicked out of a band, reflect on your experience and then try again with a different band. Don't give up. Equally, if you've been in 100 bands and nothing is working, you either need to look in the mirror because the problems aren't with other people, or you need to accept being in a successful band simply isn't for you, and you should focus your positive energies and hard work on other things. Other things could be a solo musical project, for example, or something completely different like taking up painting. If you conclude the problem is you, then my positive advice there is you need to work on yourself. Find new perspectives, change the way you think or the way you work, develop new skills, or accept bigger compromises in order to continue making awesome music with people. Next, don't expect everything from everyone. You don't even need everything from everyone. Look at the overall picture. If one person is a musical beast but has zero other skills to bring to the table, that might be fine. And that's why, if you think of any famous band, you already know in that band who is the business person and who just plays their instrument. You also know the bands that are famous just because one person in the band was such or is such a musical beast that was enough to gain them fame and fortune. Other bands are successful because they have insane funding, others because they have great connections, others because one or two people in the band work like machines and don't sleep. Again, you don't need everyone to have complete skill sets if your band is progressing and its fan base is growing. When I'm talking about people being the problem, you have to look at the overall result as well as how the parts or people fit together, like absolutely any business. The last point I'll make is on the topic of why I believe it's totally realistic for you, yes you watching this, to be in a successful band. My belief that anyone can be in a successful band is because the competition isn't as great as you think it is. Everyone thinks that every band is trying to make it, and so there is so much competition in the musical world. But the truth is, in my opinion, that bands say they're trying to make it because it almost feels socially unacceptable to say, I write original songs and it's just a hobby. There should be no shame in your band being a hobby, and no pressure to grow fan bases if you don't want to. But because there is pressure, almost everyone in almost every band says they're trying to make it, and that drastically overinflates the numbers of how many bands you're actually competing with. I'm going to say I know more bands than the average person, simply because I teach music for a living and because music is such a huge part of my life. But literally, out of the however many bands I can think of, only 3 or 4 are trying to be successful. And the truth is, they aren't really trying. So let's define trying. How many hours a week is a job? I think 40 is the official number, but how many people do overtime or work weekends to try and make a little extra? How many hours are you spending with your band? 1-2 hour rehearsal a week that not all members always make it to? Maybe you're crushing it and you're rehearsing 9 hours a week and everyone is making it to every rehearsal, and maybe you gig once a week as well, which takes 5 hours. You're still 26 hours short of even a basic job. Now, I understand why no one invests 40 hours a week with their band, but it is naive or maybe even offensive to successful bands to think that what they have achieved is achievable in 15 hours a week, and it's insane to think it's achievable in 3 hours a week. Being in a successful band, having invested almost no time, can totally happen. But that is like your business plan for your company being to win the lottery. So when I say there isn't as much competition as we are led to believe, what I am saying is there aren't that many bands doing 40 hours per week. And that's why I truly believe it is possible to be in a successful band if you want it and are willing to do 40 hours per week. Disclaimer, I'm not telling anyone to quit their job or leave their family to go and chase rainbows or drop out of college. I'm just saying that if you want music to be your profession, then why wouldn't it require 40 hours a week? Why would something as highly competitive as music be something you could achieve in 2 hours once a week? Name any other profession where that is even remotely possible. And there are no guarantees. If you put 40 hours a week into music for like 5 years, I'd be surprised if you weren't able to make at least an average salary from music. But you might find that there is no gold at the end of the musical rainbow. Obviously, companies work very hard and pour hours of time and tons of money into being successful, and companies still go bankrupt. Success depends on more than just the hours put in, and you have to decide if you want to chase rainbows with zero guarantees. From this video, discuss with your band what you all want from your band. Regularly check everyone is on the same page. Keep an eye on your metrics. If your band is growing in popularity and achieving its goals, then keep doing what you're doing. Don't panic and change something when you don't need to. But it is equally wise to regularly look for ways to improve and refine what you are already doing right. I suppose the main message from this video is don't be scared to change band or change personnel if something isn't working. Do that with respect and caring. Don't tell someone just to go and eat a bag of donuts. And finally, don't feel any pressure to try and make music your profession. Music is a fantastic hobby, and if it is your hobby, then be proud to say that when people ask you how your band is doing. I'm Pete Cook, soundtuition.com. Blah, blah, blah. A positive reason why I believe it's possible to be in a successful band is because bands, unlike many other businesses, aren't actually in competition with each other. It's unlikely that I'm going to buy 10 cars, so car companies are in direct competition. If I buy a VW, I'm less likely to buy a Ford. But as a band, your customers can listen to your products and your competitors, and that's fantastic. For one car company to win, another has to lose. But in music, if my band is successful, it doesn't really harm your band's sales in the same way.